Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, amazing people, and also sometimes captains.
Yeah,
Today I have a captain. I have an amazing man. His name's Alexis Sirkia. He is
yeah.
the captain at Yellow Network. Alexis, welcome to the show today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. And I'll kick things off and ask you the first question. I ask all my guests. They get amazing answers. What is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
I think so. My background is in software. I'm a software engineer, and I went to school with somebody that went the other way, like finance, and he went to Goldman Sachs. And I worked at the Space Center, the European Space Center at the time. So that's my background, really like hardcore software engineer. And he was like hardcore finance, and together we co-founded what became today, I think, probably the largest market maker in the space, fintech, GSR. And we co-founded that about 12 years ago. But about 6 years ago, out of the frustration of things in trading in crypto not being as Satoshi would have imagined, everything centralized and everything like the Web3 not really getting any mass adoption. So out of this frustration, I left GSR to build Yellow and the Yellow Network.
Excellent. So I want to find out, what Yellow Network is all about,
Yeah,
including, you call it layer three. I want to know what the definition is of layer three, along
yeah,
with what Yellow Network's all about.
yeah. So let's say layer one is this base layer, this blockchain that Satoshi and Vitalik brought us, like with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then this layer two is this scalability layer. Okay. Layer three would be the app layer. The app layer built on top of all these infrastructure that we have. So this app layer, a bit following the Aussie model in networking, where there's this app level. So really, we believe there was missing this app layer, and that's what we built. We built all the missing components for like standard developers, Web2 developers, to be able to embrace Web3 and build applications with the Yellow SDK. We filled a lot of the missing gaps, and we put everything in a library where you can access any blockchain, and seamlessly, both for the user and for the web developer, they can build crypto apps without really knowing it's crypto, and users can use apps without really knowing it's blockchain behind the scenes. There's things like login without just with your Gmail. This is part of it, but then there's also other things like state channels, which brings us peer-to-peer trustlessness, which was really the missing part that we had in the Web3 vision of Gavin Wood. So really, like, it was a huge development, like over 100 people. It's not so simple to this SDK that we're bringing forward to the community. It's a huge development. We have 240 plus apps already being developed. So when I say it's the app layer, before launch, we already have 240 apps being developed, of many hundreds of developers. Some of these participated in these Ethereum hackathons, like in ETH Global, and I remember like there was 800 participants in the ETH Global in Prague, and 2 of the 10 finalists were using Yellow SDK. That's how powerful it is. It's really it allows you to build like apps really, really well, and thanks to the state channels as well, it allows you to build like complete Web3 applications that were not possible to be built before. We can go into more technical details how this works, but really it's amazing reception from developers. This is what I always I didn't even dream about it. The CTO of Cosmos joined us to build this. The CTO of Bybit joined us to build this broker infrastructure layer on top of the SDK. and a guy recently joined us from Ripple as well to evangelize this software to the so as our chief evangelizer. He was evangelizing 12 years ago already in Ripple, so he was like one of the early Ripple guys. And our CMO came from Polkadot. Actually, our team is amazing that we have amassed, and most of them has joined just for the tech and what we're offering, and like the possibility of giving real of this mass adoption dream that we have sold for so many years, but it was never really there. Not even Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a mass adoption for store of value, but even for payments, it failed, So really, people are using Yellow SDK for payments. They're using a Yellow SDK for trading. They're using it for gaming. It's like all the apps all across. Really cool.
I like the fact that you're getting people from all these different, perspectives.
Yeah,
Polkadot, Cosmos, Ripple, they all have different views.
totally.
So how does your layer your SDKs differ from other SDKs? What's the
Yeah.
innovative breakthrough that you are putting together or have created?
Okay, so we're not a blockchain. That's like the first things, but one of the really important things that was missing, it was, I would say 75% of our development has gone to focus on that. And one of the very missing pieces was this peer-to-peer trustlessness. So with blockchain, we receive, like, we had a coin where we don't need to trust the government, okay, to store the value. And with the blockchain, we don't need to trust third-party banks. So I can send money to you without trusting a bank, but there is 30,000 computers supervising the transaction. Okay, so it's not just between you and me. It's between you and me and 30,000 people checking our behavior and penalizing if it's bad behavior or rewarding us for contributing to the network. And with Ethereum, we got trustlessness from people and judges. So we don't need people to execute on contracts, and we don't need judges to arbitrate. And that's cool. But within the smart contract, in the interior of the smart contract, you can still write the smart contract that is going to run. But the two parties interacting with each other, they still need to somehow trust each other. There's not these trustless peer-to-peer without the settlement part of these 30,000 computers. So it's based on Lightning networks like Bitcoin, and it's called state channels. It's an evolution which was used prematurely in things like Filecoin, but not really generic state channels. So we built generic state channels that allows me to interact with you without having 30,000 computers supervising what we're doing. So I can buy, let's say, a Bitcoin from you, and we both cryptographically sign a transaction, and we both agree to this transaction. And next, I buy an Ethereum for you, and we both cryptographically agree to this transaction. And then, so I bought a Bitcoin and an Ethereum for you, let's say 100,000 and 4,000, and you owe me a Bitcoin and an Ethereum, and I owe you 104,000. So I ask you to settle, and you say no, because I'm hyper liquid. I'm going to close this market. So no, whatever. Or I've been hacked, whatever. So this we've both pre-locked the money in a smart contract, and then the smart contract is going to review our hashes, and is going to, thanks to the rules it has, is going to be able to arbitrate and give me 4,000 if the Bitcoin price went up or whatever. It's going to give me the collateral to make me whole from the operation, or give you. So this is what's really important about these transactions, that they were peer-to-peer between us two, and we didn't ask any blockchain settlement or verification or validation until the end of the transaction. So for example, for trading, where you want to do like hundreds of thousands or millions of trades for a day, you don't need these 30,000 computers. You just trade between each other. We both agree cryptographically on what we want. There's a set of rules and escrowed money from both parties in the smart contract. And if we don't agree, then the smart contract intervenes. And when I want to settle, the smart contract intervenes. But it's like in real life. You go to the grocery store, you buy oranges, bananas, cucumbers, tomatoes, and you don't pay for your oranges, your cucumbers. No, you go to the end, you have your full invoice, and you settle on the invoice. And for me, this was the big missing part of Web3. This being able to do business with other parties without trusting the other party. Until now, we could only do this business when every transaction was settled as fast as you can settle it. Even if you talk about Solana, when people talk about Solana and how fast it is, they haven't achieved this, but they're talking about 1 MIPS, 1 million instructions per second. And in the 76, there was a VAX that did 1 million instructions per second. And in 84, an Intel processor could do 1 million instructions per second. So we're really far from like teraflops that we're using in the real world. And this was really the missing part that thanks to this peer-to-peer trustlessness, now we can do complete Web3 apps. And that's why told you they use it for instant payments, for gaming, because they need fast things, for trading. It's like amazing use case for trading. So I love it, and I'm so excited about what we've built, and I can't believe the adoption we're getting.
So let me see if I get this straight. Okay. You sent me, I owe you 104,000 for something, a Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? I decide I don't want to pay you.
Yeah.
The smart contract can reverse that and take the money, give it back to you, and take it from me.
So actually we have both initially pre-locked the money. It's a bit like when you go to the casino and you play blackjack. The casino puts $20 on the table and you put $20 on the table, and whoever wins gets the money on the table, or it's split or whatever. So we have both pre-locked money on the smart contract in order to trade with each other without needing to trust each other. Okay. That's a very simplified version of it. And then when you log money in the smart contract, you're contributing to the network, and you also get rewards in yellow. And if you don't want to settle, you're going to some yellow that you have also deposited as security deposit, you're going to lose them. So this good behavior, bad behavior, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's also part of the protocol.
I like it. So Web3, like I want to talk about a little bit about Web3 in totality. So what is, like, people say that Web3 is failing, that Web2 is succeeding, and I don't agree with that. But what's the current state of Web3, including the many things that are wrong with it today?
Yeah. So Web3, like you go to Wikipedia and you check what is Web3, and then is like this term that Gavin Wood came out with like 2014, where he envisioned a world where we don't need to depend on centralized entities. And people think like it's removing people from the equation, but really it's trusting math or trusting computers to do a job instead of trusting people. And usually the jobs that require trust, we haven't yet let computers do those jobs, and it's about replacing centralized entities that using people by centralized entities as well, but running on computers. Okay, so or smart contracts. So for example, when I'm a third party buyer, I'm a buyer and I buy from a third party on Amazon. I know this third party seller is going to send me the goods, and if he doesn't, Amazon is going to kick their ass, and they're going to refund me, and they're going to make me make me like pay me like a return sticker, and make me everything. So it's a really good centralized entity, but a lot of that work today in today's world can be replaced by computers. There's not the need for people to be arbitraging, and if the rules are set, like if you know that if the tracking number says that it was delivered somewhere else or whatever, in most cases, and this was the initial vision of Gavin Wood of Web3, thanks to blockchain and a little bit with AI, you know, we can replace people with computers to do these jobs and liberate the entrepreneur to focus on his business and let code run his business and not people. And it's an evolution of the internet. It's what we saw with Spotify, what we saw with all these internet things that are running thanks to the code that people have done. But now we're talking also about the centralization and the arbitration. We're going to delegate that to computers. We're not going to delegate that to all these execution and arbitration of these more things that, like, more serious things like money or like disputes. Let's delegate to computers with a preset set of rules. And I'm not saying that computers can today replace 100% of the centralized intervention, but a good 90%, I'm sure it can. And yeah, so the promise of Yellow SDK is the next, we're gonna have a bit like Uniswap, you know, you launch it on a smart contract and it runs by itself, but with more complex apps, you know. So the next unicorn is going to be, you know, you build your unicorn company and you run it from the beach or like beautiful setting like I have here now, you know, and it runs by itself without with computers and program on smart contracts, and so mostly by itself, not 100% yet, but you know, the idea is transitioning the execution and arbitration and all these apps and making them run by themselves without people.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, you know, my primary focus so far in crypto has not been memes. It has been DeFi. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, I think your solution your Yellow Network can be a solution for DeFi transformation and especially in the area of like Web3 liquidity. So
Yeah.
how does your solution set the stage for that? And how can your solution like fix the Web3 liquidity hassle?
Yeah. So one of the things about this DeFi, you know, it's decentralized finance, and this word really, like, it scares banks and it scares traditional finance. And I like to use the word TrustFi because it's more it's the same thing, but it's a word that allows them to appropriate themselves of the technology instead of running away. So and the real reason that I like to use this is because decentralization, like in Bitcoin and Ethereum, was never the goal. The goal was removing trust from banks or governments or people or judges with smart contracts. The goal was removing trustlessness. Decentralization is just a means to the goal. So that's why DeFi is a little bit, especially because with state channels, it's a trustless peer-to-peer system without decentralization. The decentralization only for settlement or when things go wrong. So I think our solution can really fix like DeFi adoption. Just to get back to your question, because I got a bit lost in my train of thought. What was your question again?
How you can help transform DeFi and how you can help fix the Web3 liquidity. I call it liquidity hassle.
Yeah, totally. So one of the things we are fixing with Yellow Network is actually this liquidity problem, because when you trade Tesla, for example, you trade USD Tesla, and wherever you trade it, it all goes to Nasdaq, you know. But when you trade Bitcoin USD, instead of one venue, you have like 100 venues with different risks, different mechanisms, the swap mechanisms like Uniswap or like centralized, but there's like, so the liquidity is fragmented, and that's not a great thing. So one of the things of Yellow Network, because with this SDK, as I told you in the start, because it can connect to any network, and because we have built a broker layer that connects to centralized exchanges as well, we can act as a liquidity hub, not a liquidity aggregator like 1inch, but a liquidity hub, or from from one place in the yellow network, you can access all the liquidity in all the blockchains. So it's a way to fix it, and it's a way to simplify arbitrage. In the end, we don't think that the world needs 100 exchanges or 1,000 exchanges, but we do think that the world needs 1,000 brokers or 100 brokers, because that's what we see in traditional finance. And until today, everybody that wants to provide like Bitcoin USD, except Robinhood, is acting as an exchange. But in traditional finance, exchanges don't serve retail. Exchanges serve prime brokers, they serve OTCs, they serve high frequency traders, and these are the only ones that should be really in exchanges. Like the layer 2 in traditional finance is like prime brokers or online brokers, and they access Nasdaq. It's a layer 2, layer 1, which we see in crypto. It's way more efficient, and that's so what part of what we have built with Yellow Network. We have built this infrastructure that allows layers twos to exist on top, layer twos in the sense of brokers to exist on top of exchanges and get their liquidity with market makers or with exchanges. So this is what the CTO of Bybit is building, this broker infrastructure that we call NailDAX, which is part of the liquidity network, connecting everything. And by connecting everything, you kill this problem that is the dispersed liquidity, that it's very difficult to, from the efficiency perspective, it doesn't make sense, that you have 1,000 Bitcoin USD venues.
I'm thinking here. You got me thinking here.
Yeah.
About the exchanges serving institutions only.
Yeah.
If these exchanges serve institutions only in crypto, would we have had that implosion we had on October 20? Where the market tanked dramatically because of people wanting to do 1,000x, and would we have this great disparity in volatility, or would the market be more stable? How would that be able to help the crypto market? And then where would retail be able to do their 1,000x, or would they not be able to anymore? And how would that bring stability to the industry?
Mm-hmm. My proposal is to, of course, allow people to connect directly to exchanges, but also have brokers that face retail, and exchanges that face brokers. Okay, like a two-level architecture. In such a scenario, I think the liquidity problems would be very similar in the end, even though there is some hedging involved and it can tamper a little bit, and there's market makers that they more or less modulate markets. But I think the crashes and everything would be very similar, but it would be more organized, and clients would be more protected. In the traditional finance, like you have in Europe, they tell you like 71% of the people that trade on this exchange have lost money. I'm not sure if you've seen these warnings in CFDs and everything, and most crypto retail loses money. Okay, so it sometimes makes sense to pay an expert like 20%, like in this AUM, to trade on your behalf and use his expertise. And I'm not going to say he's going to trade better or worse, but professionals lose less money than amateurs. That's why there's like this 71% is mostly retail, and it's not a bad option to offer people that maybe don't know how to trade or are not feeling, to give the option to professionals to give advice and have clients, and push those because otherwise what we see, what I've seen for 12 years, is people buy when it's high in crypto and people sell when it's low, and poor people, I do the opposite. When there's blood in the streets, you buy, but like I see it all the time, and it's sad to see. And fortunately, Bitcoin goes up even more in 4 years, and they don't lose money, but I'm not sure how long that will last. So I think like separating it and allowing traditional brokers to enter the space and to give advice to big clients, to big institutional clients, and to smaller clients, it's not a bad idea after all. And I think, of course, there will be these people that were very lucky and made a lot of money, but the 71-80% of the people that lose money, I think we can decrease that percentage. Yeah, and in the end, it's a 0-1 game. For people to do 5x, 80% has to lose. For 20% to do 5x, 80% has to lose money. You know, it's when the charts are not moving, that's how it works, you know. So and many people are doing 5x, but unfortunately it's not retail, it's not my mother, it's not the normal people that are unfortunately the ones that that institutions and professional traders are somehow taking advantage of. Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow, for some reason, a lot of people buy when it's super high and sell when it's low. And you got to do the opposite. It takes patience.
Yeah.
So, you know, but one of the things you said his name a few times, and I wanted to see, you know, because the comparison, like you said, Gavin Wood, right?
Yeah.
So, not a lot of people, at least I don't go to a lot of Bitcoin conferences or any Bitcoin conferences, but um, comparing Gavin Wood's vision versus Satoshi's vision, right?
Yeah.
Where are we at with those two and the intersection of those two, and which one do you
Yeah.
see being the sustainable one going forward?
So I got into the Ethereum ICO like in 2014, and we bought Ethereum like 27 cents. And I was a Bitcoin, like I really like Bitcoin. I did this Bitcoin and poker games where I brought normal people into Bitcoin. So I was a bit of an evangelist for Bitcoin. I really like Bitcoin. I would say that most of the maximalists of Bitcoin did not understand Ethereum, but about 10% did. Okay. And the Ethereum ICO was in Bitcoin. Actually, I bought those Ethereum with Bitcoin at the time. It was around $400 or $500 per Bitcoin. And but the 10% that did understand Ethereum, they understood that what uh, Vitalik, Gavin Wood, all the crowd were proposing was an extension of Satoshi's vision to people and judges and arbitrages. Like you have this first iteration where it's like governments and banks. That's Satoshi's vision. That's what he government for store of value and banks for transfer of value, you know, blockchain. And that's level one. Level two was, okay, the same criteria of trustlessness, let's apply it to execution of contracts and arbitration of contracts. And that's Ethereum, that's smart contracts. And most people in Bitcoin were too much Bitcoin maximalists, not too much close, and they didn't really understand. So but for us who did, you know, and the time gave us now, and now many of them, many of the Bitcoiners, they went to the other side. They didn't get into the ICO, but then they became also fans of Ethereum and what it means, be it through Ethereum or Cardano or Polkadot or Solana. It doesn't really matter. It's the same concept. And I think now what we've done is like the third iteration, which is like peer-to-peer trustlessness. And I think now we have a complete system of Satoshi's vision. I think if you think about it, and I gave it a lot of thought this 12 years, it's really just an extension of the same thing. And there's no reason why Satoshi's vision should not be extended to other areas, you know. And who knows, in the future, maybe it's AI with AI, you know. Maybe now me it's P2P, and in the future it's blue or red, and it's AI with AI, you know. Now it's, yeah.
Yeah, I like your that concept of extending the thought leadership to
Yeah.
different areas, because I've seen a lot of arguments over the years by maximalists, and all the arguments, none of them are based on technical technology or the technical aspects of the chains. They're all based on ad hominem, ad hominem
Mm.
arguments against something like Charlie sold, so don't buy Litecoin. I mean, that's not an argument against for Bitcoin or against. Like, you got to talk about the technology, and then just don't see it. You know.
Yeah.
So I like your thoughts on that. So
Yeah.
I wanted to thank you very much for your time today. This has been an enjoyable conversation. I have one last
Thank
question.
you.
I have
Yeah.
one last question for you. So how can people find out more information about you, about Yellow Network? How can they start to use Yellow Network? How can they do that?
Okay, so it's quite easy. You can go to yellow.com for everything related to the business side of things, yellow.org for the devs. Okay, so on yellow.com, we have the news, we're building an exchange, and then yellow.org for the devs. And they can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is yellow. That's as easy as it gets. And yeah, just basically join. We have the Yellow Navy that has been contributing because I'm a captain. I now I'm in my mother's home, but I live usually in a boat. I'm sailing around the world for the last 4 years, so that's why they call me captain. And that's why we have the Yellow Navy. But yeah, join the Yellow Navy, and yeah, like what I would really love is for people to understand the power of what we have built, to use it, to, it's free for everybody to try. Now we have Steven that came from Ripple to teach everybody how to use it. So we're like doing all these videos on how to use the Yellow SDK, and just try it out, and you will feel the power and you'll see the power. And I guess that's why we're having so many people in our ecosystem. Like, it's gonna be amazing. And yeah, I mean, it's very difficult because it was so difficult in 2012 to convince Bitcoin people to get into Bitcoin. And it was impossible even for me to convince my co-founders, the guys that came from finance, about how Ethereum was the next big thing. Like, they didn't believe it. And today I have the same problem with Yellow. It's like, how can I tell people this thing that we have built is so awesome and so useful, and it will be transformative? Just go and try it by yourself and try to investigate more. And hopefully, because like, if you've been left out of Bitcoin or Ethereum, this is something you can investigate and maybe become part of the community. We refunded all the VCs. We raised 10 million, and I refunded $6 million worth of VCs, because I really want this to be a community project. So we just kept the community. So be part of our community. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your
Mm.
time today.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.